I'm Jerome Armstrong.
And I'm David All. Welcome back to DomeNation. Well, YouTube community, you asked for it, and you got it. We have Dr. Ron Paul with us today for a very special edition. Actually, we've left 101 Constitution, and we're here at the National Press Club, just finishing up a press conference. So, Dr. Ron Paul, why don't you tell us what you're doing here today?
Well, I had a press conference emphasizing the need for Rudy Giuliani to do a little reading. He implied that he had never heard that our foreign policy might have had an influence on the motivations behind the attack on us on 9/11. And he wanted to turn that around and say that, oh, that means you're blaming America. Of course, I don't blame victims. I blame the criminals and the murderers who did it. But I raised the question, why are they motivated? So we had a press conference here and discussed it, and Michael Schur was here with me, who is the CIA expert who ran the bin Laden unit for many, many years, and who's a real expert, and his job was to determine exactly this issue, what motivated bin Laden to do what he did. So I found it was a very good press conference.
Do you, what does Rudy Giuliani say in terms of what motivated them to attack us on 9/11, and how do you take issue with that?
Well, he was saying that he had never heard of it, which I was surprised because I think.
But what does he say the reason?
Well, what he is saying, he was implying that I said that I'm blaming America, that I'm blaming the victims. It was sort of like if somebody gets murdered and they say, well, they were asking for it, and not blaming the murderer. And but that was a cop-out. See, he doesn't want to debate foreign policy, because this way it's not foreign policy at fault and it had no influence. It was only that I'm misconstruing and I'm all mixed up and I'm blaming America. It's the same ploy that they use, like if you want to bring the troops home and save lives. Oh, you don't support the troops. They turn, if you don't support the policy, they turn it around and say you don't support the troops. So he was playing that game. If I don't support the policy, therefore I'm un-American. And I think it was disingenuous, and I think he deserved to hear something else. And I gave him some books to read, and also pointed out that he's the expert and he capitalizes on 9/11 continuously. And I gave him a copy of the 9/11 report, which supports my position.
How does he capitalize on 9/11?
Mainly because he speaks on the issue, and he is the expert on 9/11. Makes $100,000 when he goes out to speak. So he's really capitalized on this, and that rubs some people the wrong way.
Well, you know, when you're talking about they and them, you're talking about our party. I'm a conservative Republican. You're a Republican. Why are you a Republican? There are some people who say, you know, Ron Paul should just run as an independent. Maybe he shouldn't be running in the Republican nomination at all. What do you say to those people?
My question is, why are they Republicans? Because I very sincerely believe I'm the true conservative and the true Republican. The Republican Party for many, many decades, even for the last 100 years, have always been the party more leaning toward pro-peace and benefited by it. You know, both Wilson and Roosevelt took us to war, but they campaign on, I will keep you out of war. Peace is always a powerful issue. After the Korean War, the Republicans benefited. Eisenhower, I'm going in to stop the war. Nixon wins in '68, I'm going to stop the war. Then also in the year 2000, we condemned Clinton for his going into Kosovo and into Somalia. And Bush says non-intervention, no nation building, no policing the world. And to me, that's the Republican position. So I think we as a party have been very, very foolish, and I think that's why we lost last year, and that's why I'm predicting we can't win unless we change this policy and end this war, because and make it a non-issue, because it never works. You can get public support early in a war, and we did, and the Republicans thought, yes, this was great, but not now. They finally. And I made a comment in 2002, a few months before we went to war, and I said, yes, there will be a lot of support at the beginning, but eventually the American people will wake up and they'll realize A lot of people are dying, and it's costing a lot of money. And there's never been a war fought in the history of mankind that doesn't create economic conditions as a consequence, and that means inflation. Whether it was the inflation in the 20s after World War I, and after World War II, after Korea inflation, after Vietnam, the inflation of the 70s, and it's coming back because you fund the war with an inflationary monetary policy. So I said war is never popular, and I'm trying to tell the Republicans, remember the old traditions of the Republican Party, because they were very strong, the Robert Taft position and the anti-war position. So I think those who have strayed and become international interventionists are not loyal to Republican traditions.
One more question on Iraq. Now, you have mentioned that you will bring up the issue of reauthorization of it again in the Congress. And what's the procedure for that?
Well, I'm going to, when I get back, I'm going to have a bill, and it's going to be bipartisan, and the bill would sunset the authorization after 180 days. So it would give once the bill is passed, it would give the Congress 6 months to come up with a new solution. They've made a mistake. The authority is out of date. The conditions are totally changed. Saddam Hussein is gone. There are no weapons of mass destruction. There's no reason to enforce UN resolution. There really isn't any technical authority for this war. So I'm trying to force the Congress to re-debate the issue, because the Congress has more responsibility about war than the president does. That's what I'm working on.
Well, Congressman Paul, thanks a lot for coming and joining us. Dr. Paul also. If you could, if you had a message for the YouTube community, what would it be?
Well, my message is that less government is better than more government, and I've advocated less government all along. But this doesn't mean just in our economic lives. It means in our personal lives as well as less government overseas. And the one thing that I have been a champion of and always win the polling groups is who defends the Internet the most. And I'm a strong supporter of never taxing the Internet and never monitoring the Internet. And that means that the monitoring of the Internet and our websites and all should be done by individuals and responsible groups and parents, but not by the government. And I think that this is very important, because the Internet now is the only option allowed to candidates like myself who won't be able to raise $100 million from the special interests and from the military-industrial complex. So I'm delighted to be on your program today.
Great, thank you. Well, I think you're going to find some success fundraising this time around, given all your supporters out there that you have.
Looks better.
Thank you. Well, so remember, Nation,
it's your dome.